Think about this. Take a regular man, add an X. Now you fucking got something. This is We Have Concerns. Hi, Jeff Canada.
Hi, Anthony Carboni.
Hello, concerned citizens. Jeff, it's the most wonderful time of the year.
Oh, I love this time of the year. I get all my decorations out. There's a different spirit, you know. I think there's a twinkle in everybody's eye. There's a pip in their step. A pep, not
Absolutely.
a pip. A pep in their step.
A pep in their step. And a pip. And
maybe a pip as well.
They're tipping their hats to one another. It's everybody wants to be giving, and there's just a feeling of warmth and joy because the Ig Nobel Prizes have been announced.
We love the Ig Nobel Prizes. Oh, yeah. It's a special time. It's a special time we look forward to on this very science podcast every year, where we get to marvel at the genius and the other side of genius of people.
That's right. This is the yearly awards that honor the science that is maybe the silliest or seems the least useful from the outside.
These are people whose ideas cannot be contained within the confines of useful. You know?
It is, of course, put on by the Improbable Research Institute. We love them. They make a great magazine. They report on this stuff all year round, but this is their big time of the year. And I wanted to go through and talk about some of the big winners from this year, Jeff, because they are perfect in every way.
I can't wait. I haven't looked at any of these. It's like unwrapping a gift. It's a special time. It's the Ig Nobel Prizes.
It's the Ig Nobel Prizes, baby. And I want to start off with one, Jeff, that is going to be familiar to you. This is an old friend, buddy.
Ooh.
This is an old friend. Do you remember, does this name ring a bell to you? David Carrier, professor of biology at University of Utah. Does this sound familiar to you?
Vaguely. I don't think I can place it with a specific story, but what did our friend David Carrier do?
David Carrier is the gentleman that tested to see if men grew beards to protect them from being punched.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Padding for punches.
Padding for punches.
If this was literally the historical evolutionary explanation for beards.
I love this. We did an episode on this. Absolutely wonderful. And they did find, after you remember, after dropping weights onto a bone-like material covered in sheep fleece.
Yeah. You know, science beards.
And I find it just as unsettling that The Guardian here said bone-like material, just like you did. Because nobody specified what this bone-like material was.
It's kind of like a bone. That's all we know. That's as much as information as we can give you.
That is still just as creepy as it was when I first heard it, and I still want to know the answer here. But they did find that hairy skin does absorb far more energy than smooth skin.
Yeah. So, next time you enter yourself into a UFC fight, before you get into the octagon, give yourself a few months to grow a nice bushy beard.
Yeah. He does say that, they asked him what his next experiment was going to be if he's going to continue along this important line of research.
Can I guess?
Yeah, go ahead and guess.
Getting kicked in the nuts? Pubic hair could help?
Look, I would love that for 100 different reasons. Do you remember that old Channel 101 series from way back in the early internet that was called Kicked in the Nuts? And every episode it was just somebody getting kicked in the nuts and then a laugh track. Like it was some sort of like weird like America's Funniest Home Videos thing. But the situations kept getting like bigger and bigger and stranger to the point where it was getting like weirder and weirder that this guy in like a rainbow afro wig was coming out and kicking this dude in the nuts. Like it was like at funerals and at graduations and like at like weird. Amazing. I think the last one was at World War II or something.
Do you remember when the internet was just full of gentle whimsy?
Gentle whimsy. Yes, I do. No, Professor Carrier says that the next thing he wants to test is whether beards also act as visual obscurants and distractors, making the jaw itself harder to target.
He's really doubling down on the beards. He's
doubling down. Well, it's award-winning research now, Jeff.
Well, he's got all of these bone-like materials laying around.
Yeah, and all of the sheepskin.
So much sheep fleece.
So much sheepskin, and it's terrifying what he had to go through to get that much sheepskin.
Can you imagine this dude's lab is just disembodied beards everywhere you look? Just piles of bone-like material with faux beards on them.
I think like if you just have the faux, like the bone-like material and the sheep fleece, it actually looks like an Instagram influencer's lab, right? Like the little sheepskins like everywhere and like little fun taxidermies and like quick, you know what I mean? Put a couple dream catchers up.
You know what I bet his motto is? You know I'm working when you see the jerkin.
Now, I know you meant it one way, but it does sound like another way.
Oh, yeah, like a verb?
Yeah, because the colloquial, like, we don't really use jerkin that often now.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, we don't think about tanning hides as much these days.
I mean, you might not. I think about it constantly.
And listen, once again, we're an award-winning science comedy podcast, and we are not here to kink shame. But I think that's kind of interesting is like the idea of if I have like a large bushy beard and you try to punch me, what is the...
You don't know where the face is under there? Where's my face? You don't know where it is. It could be 2 inches to the right of where you're aiming. You don't know. My face is under here somewhere, but my beard provides camouflage.
And if your impact is even 2 inches off of where you thought, you might slide along the beard.
A glancing blow.
A glancing blow. A hit, good sir. A palpable hit. And he does reiterate, it's not that beards provide a lot of protection.
No.
A really strong punch is always going to be dangerous. What we can say is that they provide some protection to bones and skin.
What we can say is the last year of my life was not entirely wasted.
It was not at all. I had a thought, and it was right. So ha. One of my favorite ones here.
I love this guy. By the way, congratulations. We should say congratulations on the Ig Nobel Prize. I know that it was already prize enough that you got an entire episode devoted to your research of the We Have Concerns podcast, award winning. But it's nice to see the Ig Nobel Prize. What's the next on your hit list? Next on
my hit list is the medicine prize. The Ig Nobel Prize for medicine was by Them Bulut. I
nailed it.
Nailed that is what I'm going to say. I got it perfectly. He's a professor at the SLK clinics in Heilbronn in Germany.
Okay.
And he's the leader of a team that won the medicine prize for research that says that sex is an effective nasal decongestant.
See, now I love this guy because this guy, we talk about kink shaming.
This guy fucks.
This guy fucks for a living.
Hey, we can say for sure, this guy fucks.
You know how you know? Clear nasal passages.
Oh, please. Meanwhile, you can hear every breath I take in this microphone. It's like a wheezing. It's like a bellows inside of an iron lung, which should tell you something about my life.
Now this guy though, it's like wind in the willows. You know what I'm saying? He's just clear skies. He fucks.
Now, Professor Bulut developed suspicions that this might be so based on self-experimentation and observation.
course. Yeah. Honey, feeling real clear this morning. Just wanted to say thanks.
Just thank you for that. And with this pollen count, too. So he recruited a group of coworkers to investigate.
Yeah, he did.
Couples that agreed to be part of this research were given a device.
A device called a bowl, and they put their keys in it.
And then you went home with a device to measure their nasal airflow before sex, immediately after climax, and at regular intervals thereafter.
Nothing hotter than rolling over and sticking something up your nose to measure your nasal passage.
Well, hey, you have kids. You probably had to have ovulation timers and things like that. Sometimes sex is less sexy than you think, especially when you want to figure out something important for science. And what they did figure out is, dude, immediately after climax, your nasal passages are open. That shit is dilated. You are good to breathe. Think about it.
Do you have pollen disorder? Are you constantly blowing your nose during certain times of the season? Does your nose run and cause you discomfort? May we suggest Blow-Naze, the new therapeutic treatment.
No.
Blow-Naze.
Ask your doctor if Blow-Naze is right for you. So they don't know why yet.
No.
Because remember,
more research is needed. Something tells me it's going to be a while before we figure this one out.
Listen, we need as large a data size as possible. Come on.
Hey, is there any indication in the article of how, I don't know, one might sign up for this study? Just saying.
I have a direct link to the journal. I feel like you'd have to find Professor Balut's academic email. I would suggest writing to info@slkclinics.com.
All right. Or just visit his OnlyFans.
Yeah. He says, I think that it's a mixture of excitement, physical exercise, and hormonal changes that come with orgasm that's doing this, but we can't be sure yet.
Can't be sure. How could
There's
we
no
know?
way to be sure yet.
We just got to keep trying it. Is he saying that it only affects your nasal passage? It feels like there's a whole body transformation after orgasm. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm just speaking anecdotally here, but pretty much everything feels pretty good after.
Self-observation and experimentation.
Yeah. So I don't know if I just want to limit it to my nasal passage.
Well, it might not just be the nasal passage, I mean, that's a great point. I think, like you're saying, I think you need to email this guy and get on this list. I think you've got a lot to offer.
I do have a lot to offer.
The next one for chemistry. And he's from the Max Planck Institute for Chemistry. Max Planck Institute, of course.
Very prestigious. Yes.
Very prestigious. That's big boy science right there.
Indeed.
They won for chemistry for studying how odors released by the audiences in a movie theater change with screen violence, comedy, suspense, different scenes, different emotions. Does the overall scent of a theater audience change?
I think the most amazing part of this particular award is that it was given in the year 2021 when, checks watch, nobody was going to the movies this entire time.
Right.
How does this research even happen in the year of no movies?
I think they probably had to create their own. Yeah, it says that they measured from the main Cinestar cinema, which looks like it was in Europe. Right. I don't know where it was in Europe, but it looks like it was in a place where the movie theaters were open.
This is just a scientist wanting to get free movie tickets. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's write off the movie going experience on the taxes.
Yeah, for sure. And why not, I say?
I agree. As somebody who does a movie podcast for that very reason, I'm all in favor of it.
But I'll tell you what, Jeff, it do change.
Your stink changes depending on what's on the screen?
The stink do change. And what this means, though, is this is kind of interesting. That means that we broadcast olfactory signals depending on our emotional state.
Are we talking pheromones here, Carboni?
This is not necessarily...
We've gone round and round with pheromones on this show before.
No, this is not pheromones. Pheromones is different. Pheromones is like, ooh, you're in a sexy mood, and I can smell that you're in a sexy mood, and that puts me in a sexy mood.
Because my nasal passages are so clear.
They're so clear, but they're not. That's the thing. Not until after the sex. And that's why we know pheromones don't work. Everybody's out there like... Boy, I sure wonder if anybody in this room would like to have sex with me. If only there was a way to know.
Yeah.
No, this is, but this is, it's in that wheelhouse, right? I think the thing with pheromones is like the understanding or idea of pheromones that sort of happened in pop culture for a while is if you have pheromones and you put them on you, it's like a love potion. Because everybody smells pheromones and that turns them on too. And it's like, that's not the way it works. Somebody could smell that you're turned on via your stink, maybe, and get repelled by it because they don't want to have sex with you, right? Like that's the thing. But what they did find is like, depending on our emotional state, we do give off subtle changes in scent. Now, I can't smell the average person next to me.
I mean, have you been to Comic-Con?
What I mean? Like if they're wearing, if they're wearing some cologne or if they are not practicing proper hygiene, perhaps. But it's not like I can smell everybody that sits next to me.
Is the idea though that this happens subconsciously, that we are picking up these unseen sensory elements and we don't even recognize how it registers on us?
Well, they say that that's their next step. Professor Williams says the next step is to figure out if other people can perceive those changes. We know that they're happening.
This is not simply like, oh, there's an exciting or steamy or intense moment in a movie and I am sweating a little bit. It's not as simple as that. It's some other change in our scent.
Yeah. So, for example, they found out that there's a chemical in that we give off called isoprene, and they found that isoprene levels varied enormously during scary movies, allowing them to distinguish between different movie age ratings. They can tell the difference based on the isoprene ratings between a PG-13 and an R-rated horror movie.
Wow. That's wild.
It's pretty crazy, right?
It's so much more intense in an R-rated movie that you're going to stink more.
You got that isoprene. You got that smell of ice. I know you're scared because you got that isoprene reek about you, boy. You better toughen up.
Man, it's not me, man. It's not me.
You said you could do this job. And now I smell isoprene all over you like a baby.
No, I had isoprene earlier. It's just not
isoprene earlier. I love it. Something else, like another good one, was the entomology prize.
Ooh.
Went to Commander John A. Mulronin of the U.S. Navy.
Thank you for your service.
Who created a highly potent organophosphate insecticide specifically for bugs in submarines.
Thank you for your service. That's what I said. Sub bugs. Sub bugs.
They wanted something that was going to make sure that the air quality in the submarines was not going to get contaminated, even in a small way, because that's all the air you got.
This seems like a massive thing. I mean, this seems like it would be wildly useful outside of submarines. I mean, if I'm going to have something that can kill the bugs, but is so good to inhale, so undamaging to my, don't I just want to use that everywhere, not just submarines?
Potentially, yeah. I mean, it's kind of cool, right?
Yeah. Sounds like he just invented a super safe pesticide.
Yeah. I mean, that's
cool.
I mean, that is a super useful thing. The physics prize.
But also, Anthony, just hang on a second, because I need to just rectify the fact that there's enough bugs on submarines that they need pesticides for them.
Oh yeah.
Can you imagine being on a submarine full of bugs?
If you have an infestation, if you have cockroaches laying eggs on a submarine,
fuck that shit. That's like Alien. That's like fucking Alien. That's what that is. The first one. The first Alien. That's what that is.
Dude, it's not even Alien. I have a feeling it becomes Tribble. Like the amount that they can reproduce and being in such a small, tight quarters.
No.
It's like being in a studio apartment and having an infestation.
That's no. I'm sorry.
Very unpleasant.
Very unpleasant.
Very, very unpleasant. The physics prize went to researchers that tried to figure out why pedestrians are not constantly colliding.
What? Because they have eyes?
There's a group of pedestrians just running around. Why are they not constantly colliding?
Because they're anticipating. What? We're trying not to bump into each other, right? That's the result was we are intending to not bump into each other, therefore we don't.
But Jeff, think about this. Think about being in a really crowded place, like a crowded city street. One person stops short to not collide with somebody. How do you not collide with them? How do three other people not collide with you as you stop? How does this continue throughout the crowd? Why are we not constantly fucking bumping into each other?
Is this a study all about that thing that happens where you're walking at somebody and then you step to the left and they also step to their right, and then you step to your right and they step to their left, and you're getting closer and closer and you keep trying to avoid each other, but you keep by avoiding each other, you're continuing to step in each other's way? Is that this? Mm-hmm. Is that what they're doing?
Sort of. It is about the rich variety of self-organizing behaviors that we show, and not just us. Also, birds flocking and fish schooling would be a similar thing, right?
Yeah.
We often wonder, how do birds not hit each other in the air? How do they know to turn when they all turn? Like, how do they stay in a flock? And it's these anticipatory behaviors. Something that I thought was very interesting about it is it turns out that people who are distracted, like they gave people phones and told them to text while they were walking in these test places.
Yeah. And the people were like, I'm sorry, what was the instruction?
What was the instruction? I'm sorry. They did not hit people at a much higher level than you would think.
Interesting.
It was almost no higher, because what they noticed is these anticipatory behaviors. When people are texting, even though it seems like they're not paying attention, there's actually like this background level of heightened attention. So you know, because you're in a crowd and you're typing and you're not paying attention, like you might slow down and you might be like listening harder than you normally would. Now you're more distracted, so it evens out.
Right.
But that's also like the people that are paying attention will note you in a crowd far away with your phone. They'll be like, in 20 people, there's some asshole.
Yeah.
And I got to watch out for this fucking asshole.
Yeah. This is like the person who's going 20 miles an hour in a 40 zone. And I'm like, what is wrong? And I pull around them and I realize they're on their phone. Mm-hmm. You know that you are in a dangerous situation. Maybe not even dangerous, but you don't want to bump into anything. So you change your behavior, your body adapts, and you're sort of whatever this extrasensory layer is kind of extends further. You're focused on the phone, but you're hyper aware your subsystem is hyper aware.
Yeah. Now I would say, don't do that in a car, because you can still only be aware of the car.
Don't do that at all.
Don't do it at all.
You were correct in flagging them as the asshole. That's the asshole. Don't walk across the street on the phone. Like, just wait a second. You can be on the phone, stand still, be on the phone in a corner, whatever. Find some shade. But it is interesting that that we are constantly. I mean, I've often thought of it like a video game where I'm constantly, like, walking down the street in New York City or some big city. You're constantly looking for the pathway. You're constantly judging the people coming at you, the people that you're going the same direction as, the various rates at which people are walking, trying to anticipate how someone will move and change. And one of the most annoying things in the world to me is when I am sort of unable to make that judgment correctly. You know, that I'm off and I think that I'm going to be able to zig and they're going to zag and they also zig. It's disconcerting. The other thing, have you ever had this experience, Anthony? You are coming up behind someone and you're walking at a faster rate than they're walking on a sidewalk or whatever. And I do this when I'm jogging, when I'm running. They don't hear me coming. They maybe even have earphones on. They have no idea I'm there. And yet they've been walking fairly straight. And all of a sudden, as I decide to pass them on the left, they sort of start to drift to the left. Like there's some weird, there's no reason for them to start to drift to the left. But as I'm approaching, they're kind of causing me a bigger problem. And they're not even aware of it. Have you had that experience?
I have. And I have to say, it's got to be random. It's got to just be a random occurrence.
I think you're right. And I'm just,
but it feels like a thing every time it happens because it's annoying.
So annoying. And you're like, what? You were walking completely straight and all of a sudden now I'm here and now you're veering? I don't get it.
And it feels like it's always the people that you flag as like, oh, you've got no situational awareness. You're going to be the problem. And that's what this study is about, is like, we are good at like figuring out who those people are, even in big crowds, to the point where we just are naturally avoiding collisions all the time. Kind of interesting.
I guess that's physics. I guess that's physics.
It's physics.
Yeah.
What, are you going to say it's not physics?
It feels more like sociology or something, like a psychological experiment, not physics, but
well, I guess it's physics modeling, because it's almost like it's like particle modeling.
Right.
Because it kind of is, because that's the way they think about like this the fish schooling stuff and the bird flocking stuff. They're like, there are probably physical reasons this happens. Right. And then there are probably other reasons it happens too. I do want to talk about a couple more here that happened that are pretty good.
I love this. It's my favorite time of the year.
There's a study from Leila Satari and her team from the University of Valencia. They studied chewing gum bacteria biomes.
Okay.
The bacteria biomes of discarded chewing gum.
So, okay. So these are biomes that have been placed on the chewing gum because it was in a mouth. That was the idea?
So you chew it up. You put it, on a, you put it on the ground or under a desk or whatever it is, you're going to stick your used chewing gum.
Yeah.
And they wanted to
scrape it off.
Yeah, basically, they analyzed chewing gum tossed onto pavements around the world, finding that multiple bacterial strains emerge after just a few weeks and last for upwards of 3 months. So,
wow. So, okay. So this isn't bacteria that it was created. Well, I guess it only happened because it was in the mouth, but because then it was discarded and left out in the open air, it was able to grow and.
Right.
So is this a problem? Is it only an issue because they picked it up and studied it? Or is it a problem because it's out there on the ground for anybody to interact with?
Well, so think about this. If you have this chewing gum and you spit it out on the pavement,
you're an asshole.
You're an asshole. And the bacteria that is unique from you and your microbiome lingers and grows on this chewing gum for a few weeks to 3 months. Now think about that.
A little bit of me stays there, you know?
Yeah, a little bit of you. Just leaving a little bit of you. That's what you're doing. It's a memory. Think about that for forensics. Think about that for the CDC. Right?
The chewing gum bandit.
But it's not just the chewing gum. It's, the bacteria from inside of you and your microbiome, even though it's thrown down onto the ground in the city that has its own microbiome, has tons of bacteria and tons of stuff that are going around, they can still, your bacteria is so hardy that it will continue, these strains will continue to grow. So any bacterial evidence that you leave around, whether it's spit, whether it's, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be chewing gum. But this shows that there's viability, not just in like DNA evidence, but there could be viability in bacterial evidence for up to 3 months.
Wow. That's what I've always said, that it doesn't matter if you can chew gum and murder at the same time. You shouldn't do it.
You shouldn't do it.
That's what I've always said.
Unless you're going to do it. Unless you're going to do it with an icicle. If you do it with an icicle.
Perfect crime.
It's a perfect crime. It's a perfect crime. There's no evidence. It melts.
No evidence. Yeah.
Perfect crime. I do want to say that there was a study as well in the variations of the purring, chirping, chattering, trilling, tweedling, murmuring, meowing, moaning, squeaking, hissing, yowling, howling, growling, and other modes of cat-human communication.
So you can rest medicine. Wait, what?
Yeah. No. The work spans 5 papers written from 2011 to 2016 and includes observations of cats named Donnie, Rocky, and Turbo.
That's a scientist looking at their cats all day long.
All day long. They found a way to get paid to sit and look at their cats all day long and meow back at them when they meow. The research shows that a murmur combined with a meow is the most common cat vocalization, and that cats will make different sounds depending on the context, such as when observing birds through a window or when meowing for food.
Oh my God. Somebody sat there with a pen and paper and just wrote down every kind of cat sound for weeks.
For years, 2011 to 2016.
Oh my God, 5 years.
She codified cat meows.
5 years of watching her cats. Just 5 years of watching and noting. Watching and noting, noting and watching.
Yeah.
I mean, for some, a dream job. For others,
some, it's all they want to do all day.
For some, that's winning. You've figured it out.
For most of the cat people I know, this is it. You know what I mean? This is it. This is like, how did this person figure out how to get paid for this when I should have been paid for this?
What does the day after year 5 look like when you're like, well, I published. I guess I got to do something else now.
I mean, published 5 papers. You know, it wasn't like she was just sitting around. She published a paper a year. She was doing it. She was doing the academic life and just figuring out what her little schnookums wanted. Turbo.
Oh, that was not a meow.
What do you want, Turbo?
That was a. How many of their different qualifications are there? 400?
There were like 79 million. Purring, chirping, chattering, twilling, tweedling, murmuring, meowing, moaning, squeaking, hissing, yowling, howling, growling.
That alone deserves the Ig Nobel Prize. Just that, the title of that paper.
Isn't that amazing? I do want to give you one more. And this is the Nobel Prize for Transportation. It went to Cornell University's Robin Radcliffe and his colleagues. They evaluated the methods for transporting endangered black rhinos.
Okay. Seems useful. We want to save the rhinos.
They're under threat from poachers So they need to be relocated sometimes. And also they need to be relocated to prevent excessive inbreeding while we're trying to up the population of them. So how do you get literal giant black rhinos
from place to place without them fucking? This is the idea, is that if we move them in a big storage container, they're going to fuck?
No. But is a big storage container the best way to move them? Is that going to disturb them? Is it going to cause physical damage, emotional damage? What's the easiest and best way to move a black rhino, do you think?
Did I invent the part where you said that they were worried about them inbreeding while they were moving them?
Well, that's why we move them, right? So
that's why we move them.
Yeah, we relocate some black rhinos after they've mated to another area, so they'll mate with different rhinos so they don't inbreed.
Increase the population. Okay.
Yeah.
So how do we move giant black rhino? Well, I've read a lot of Spider-Man comics, and I know it's difficult to move the rhino from place to place without him busting free.
Yeah, you got to get him to the slab.
Got to get him to the slab. Got to shackle him. I want to say that we need to airlift these rhinos. I want to say it is a Dumbo drop type of a situation.
It is, but it's wilder than you would think, Jeff.
Uh-oh.
Because what you're picturing is only half of what needs to happen.
They need to all get pilot's licenses.
We need to teach them to pilot a Cessna. Just a twin-engine Cessna. Not anything crazy.
No. Just a starter plane. Yeah.
Basically, the ideal way is to sedate a rhino, use a helicopter to lift them up by their feet so they're hanging upside down.
What? How is that the best way?
And then transfer them.
Why would that possibly be the best way? How do you that seems you've added a number of problems to yourself for no reason.
So the team was worried about a number of things about inverting the rhinos. Inverting the rhinos is the easiest way to attach them and lift them because it doesn't require as much of an intense harness as like the lifting them right side up does. And it doesn't require keeping them awake. So is there an issue? Are they going to have breathing problems? Are they going to have cardiovascular problems? Are they going to have joint issues?
Well, you know what'll clear up their sinuses real quick?
Inbreeding?
Just fuck that rhino.
It turns out that inverting them and lifting them by their legs. I mean, instead of having an entire, imagine airlifting a right side up rhino. You would have to create some sort of a harness, right?
Yeah. But isn't that how they transport elephants? I've seen it. The Dumbo drop situation where they have there's sort of like a almost like a canvas.
And it ain't easy.
Like a sling, right?
And it ain't easy, and it ain't as safe. But here's what you do, Jeff. You turn the rhino upside down.
This seems insane.
You know when you go bungee jumping?
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, sure.
So it's kind of like that, but instead of wrapping it around all the feet, you have one main line that goes to the helicopter.
Yeah.
And then you have 4 sub-connecting lines that are tied attached around each foot.
These are extreme Brock rhinos? These are bungee jumping rhinos?
Basically, I mean, and then they are blindfolded, sedated, lifted up, and just flown through the air gracefully.
But how do you fucking land with an upside down rhino underneath your helicopter?
Slowly. Helicopters can go down slowly. The same way you drop anything with a helicopter.
This makes no sense to me. Why wouldn't you just sling it like a elephant?
No, it's more dangerous. They can roll loose. They're actually more contained and less likely to cause problems for themselves or handlers if they're tied by their feet.
All right.
Otherwise, think about them wriggling around or
but they're sedated.
If they land on their legs and they land on their legs too fast, it's easy to break a leg. It's not as easy to break their back.
Okay. I mean, I'm going to trust the rhino experts on this one, but
look, they just did tests.
It's counterintuitive.
It is counterintuitive, and that's why they had to study it. Okay, so here's one of my favorite things. The The Rocketeer, one of my favorite movies.
Sure, great movie.
Great movie. Sometimes when I'm back in the before times in the long, long ago, when I would give people tours of the Lucasfilm offices, go up to the ILM floor, and there is a small small model of the Rocketeer, a scale model of the Rocketeer for flying scenes. Mm-hmm. And it's one of my favorite stories to tell. Is I'm like, this is the flight model of the Rocketeer. Fun fact: there was supposed to be no flight model of the Rocketeer. No models or animation was supposed to be used for the Rocketeer. The challenge that they wanted to solve on the Rocketeer was real man in every shot.
Right.
How do we do it? Day one, they have this stunt double connected to a helicopter.
Oh my God, really?
Flying around. They're doing multiple shots. You know, he's swinging, he's swooping. This is a stunt guy. He's used to performing on, on wires.
Sure.
At the end of the day, everything goes so smoothly. They're actually surprised by how well it goes. At the end of the day, they slowly lower the helicopter to the ground, and the dude breaks both his legs.
Huh.
Just touching the ground. Because they thought they were doing it slow enough, but it was not slow enough. It turns out that you should not do that. The rest of it was perfectly safe. And so that's why when I hear like, you don't want these rhinos landing feet first, I go, no, so delicate. The Rocketeer.
The Rocketeer. Couldn't they have just pulled the man up into the helicopter instead of lowering him down to the ground?
I think no, because he had to be connected to the bottom center of the helicopter. And there was no way to reel that up. If he went out the side door, there would have been a way. But what it was a rig connected to the absolute bottom for weight distribution purposes.
Well, you know what? Feels like they could have solved this whole rhino problem with just watching The Rocketeer.
You know, there's so many things that you could solve by watching The Rocketeer.
Strap some rockets onto a rhino.
Nobody does. Chewing gum, also important to The Rocketeer. Use chewing gum.
Yeah, I don't recall that part. It's been a while since I've seen that flick. But
it's been a while. So the whole thing is he finds the rocket pack, but it's got a hole in it, and they can't figure out how to fix it. And the Rocketeer, the entire movie, has the hole in the rocket pack covered with chewing gum.
Smart.
So smart.
See?
And he's a pilot.
That's why he's the best
his lucky
of us.
Chewing gum. That's why he's the best of us. Hey, the Ig Nobel Prizes. We'll put a link to all of the award winners, so you can check out all of the papers if you want to, and you should really be checking out the Annals of Impossible Research. They report on some wonderful things throughout the year. And hey, just a reminder, if you want to talk about these stories with other concerned citizens, or if you want to talk about the Rocketeer, or you want to play some games with people that also enjoy the show, great place to do it is the Discord. For $1 a month or more, you get access to the Discord where we're all hanging out and doing stuff. Patreon.com/WeHaveConcerns. We give more as you give more. There's all kinds of free stuff you can get. Check it out.
Check it out. We doing another story? What do you think?
How long did that go?
I have 40 minutes, 45 minutes.
45 minutes? We don't have to. We can do, let's do that just a little bit more as like a close then.
Yeah.
Okay. So there you have it. Most of your Ig Nobel winners. I implore you to head to the Annals of Impossible Research to check out all of these papers and more for yourself. They do wonderful things.
Did they announce how they, are you able to submit, nominate someone for an Ig Nobel Prize, or it's all internal and secretive?
I believe they have a voting board that consists of the people from the improbable research team.
We should get one of those folks on the show. We should
absolutely
interview an impossible research voting member.
They do a live stream of the awards, and it's a life goal of mine now to host the Ig Nobel Prizes.
Oh, yeah. We should be the official podcast of the Ig Nobel Prizes.
I don't know why we're not.
It seems like a no-brainer.
It seems like an absolute no-brainer. We should be hosting the awards every year. We should be.
Somebody listening is going to have a hookup to connect us to these folks and get us to become the official podcast of the Ig Nobel Prizes, the official hosts.
Yeah, do it, cowards.
Yeah, come on.
Do it, cowards. And hey, regardless of whether you have a connection to the Ig Nobel Prizes and the committee or not, we'd love to hang with you. And there's a great place to do it. It's the Discord.
Yeah.
For $1 a month or more, if you head to patreon.com/wehaveconcerns, you can come join us on the Discord server where we talk not just about the show, not just about science. You could talk about The Rocketeer if you want in the movie channel. You could play games with people. We got a games channel. It is a great community full of people that are united by our love for the dumb stuff we talk about on this show.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great, folks. It's a great place to be. You should check it out. It only costs you $1 a month. You could do that.
Yeah.
Check it out.
And there's other stuff you can get as well. If you head to patreon.com/wehaveconcerns, as you give more, you get a little more, because we really appreciate you supporting the show. Because fuck, man, that's one of the only ways we make money. So thank you.
It's so true. And if every single person listening to this just give us $1 a month, we could do this forever. It'd be amazing.
And we'd never die. Patreon.com/wehaveconcerns.